Ever wonder why the NBA has so many exceptions to their salary cap? Well, in this video, I will discuss the reasons why the NBA has salary cap exceptions and what a few of those exceptions are in detail. Let's get into it. So, like other professional sports leagues in the United States, the NBA also has a salary cap. The NBA's salary cap is to control costs and maintain competitive balance within the league. The NBA salary cap is also designed to limit the amount of money teams can pay its players. However, the NBA is said to have a soft salary cap because it has significant exceptions that allows teams to exceed the salary cap. It is these salary cap exceptions coupled with the luxury tax requirements that makes the NBA's soft salary cap unique from other professional sports organizations. You may ask, but why the exceptions? Initially, the exceptions were done to allow teams to keep their individual players, which, in theory, fostered fan support within each individual city. But I don't know if the original reason for the salary cap exceptions still holds true today. Because let's face it, teams and players, based off the contracts that they sign, move to new teams often, yearly. Now, these exceptions are used to circumvent the salary cap, which gives the power to teams to spend their money as they see fit. Can someone say super teams? What about 1-year contracts, player option, team option, 1+1? There's a lot of them in the NBA today, so you get my picture. What are the different salary cap exceptions? There's two particular salary cap exceptions that are discussed a lot in the media today. One is called veteran free agent exception, better known as bird rights, and the other is called mid-level exception. I discussed these two exceptions in a previous video on salary cap. You should check it out. Other salary cap exception types are called biannual exception, rookie exception, minimum salary exception, disabled player exception, and traded player exception. The disabled player exception I found interesting and relevant to discuss, especially since in 2020, the Golden State Warriors needed to request this type of exception to replace their key player, Klay Thompson. The disabled player exception allows teams to replace a player who suffered a season-ending injury or illness with one player. The maximum salary that the replacement player can earn must be less than 50% of the injured player's current salary, or the amount of the non-taxpayer mid-level salary exception. The disabled player exception must be approved by the NBA, and the replacement player's contract can only be for 1 season. The NBA will also determine the options on how the team can utilize this exception. Like in the Klay Thompson example, the NBA granted the Golden State Warriors the disabled player exception because of the season-ending injury that Klay Thompson suffered for the 2020-2021 NBA season. The traded player exception not only allows teams to exceed the salary cap, but it also allows teams to acquire more salary within the trade, which makes the rules of this particular exception complicated by nature. So I will only cover the general concept of this exception. But you have to remember, not all trades are created equal. Teams that are below the salary cap can trade their players as they deem necessary. As long as they remain under the salary cap, they do not have to utilize the traded player exception. However, if the team makes a trade that leaves the team's total salary more than $100,000 above the salary cap, then that team must use the traded player exception in order to complete the transaction. It looks like this. Team under salary cap, trade player as they deem necessary. After transaction, team remains under the salary cap, no traded player exception required. Team under salary cap, team trades player as they deem necessary, trade causes the team to exceed the salary cap more than $100,000, that team must use the traded player exception in order to complete the transaction. If the team is already above the salary cap, in this case, then any trade that that team makes that keeps them above the salary cap more than $100,000, then they have to use the traded player exception. The traded player exception comes in two types: the simultaneous trade or the non-simultaneous trade. I dare you to say the word simultaneous multiple times. It's not easy. The simultaneous trade allows teams to trade one or more players and acquire more money than it gives up. This trade must take place in one transaction. The non-simultaneous trade allows teams to trade just one player, and that team has a year to take back the equivalent of that player's salary up to $100,000. To complicate matters more, under the traded player exception, there are also other rules related to simultaneous and non-simultaneous trades that may differ based on a team's tax-paying status. If the team is a non-tax-paying team or a tax-paying team. This is important because the amount of salary that a team can take back is determined by that specific trade type under the traded player exception. Again, simultaneous and non-simultaneous, tax-paying versus non-tax-paying team, and the other defined rules that are actually within the traded player exception guidelines. One last thing to mention under the traded player exception is that individual teams involved in the trade will see the trade different based off of their team's needs and their perspectives. One team will trade based off of a simultaneous trade, and another team will trade based off of the non-simultaneous trade. Therefore, their rules will be different, although they're involved in one trade. Without the salary cap exceptions, teams would not be able to acquire or pay the salary of the top NBA players, or trade players and contracts that no longer fit their organization. Well, that's all I got for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like content like this, please check out our channel, Undrafted Views. And until next time, bye.